Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 1 Degree of Scandalous with Mr. Scandal over here, Cato Kalin.
Glad I could make it. I'm a huge fan of the show, especially my parts.
I'm Tom Zenner. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Week 14, we're into another month, September. This is amazing. Football season.
Oh, this is so exciting because, I'm a huge Green Bay Packer fan.
Oh, my gosh. Ladies and gentlemen, Cato is such a big Packer fan that he'll be F-bombing them on their first drop pass on Twitter. He'll be disowning them. He'll be seeing he can sell his father's 40 tickets that he used to own back in the 80s and 70s.
Do you know how much you see how bad I am with the Brewers? Times that by 1,000 with the Packers, because the Packers, once you're out, you always, and I hate when people say there's always next year, because when you say there's always next year, then you know they're really not sports fans.
Yeah, that's true, because
they're not sports fans. They don't get it. They don't get. I don't want to wait 50 years like the Bucks, who had to wait for a championship. 100 years for the Cubs. I hate the Cubs, but Brewer fans never.
You also hate the Brewers.
They've never had a World Series. I just want one in my lifetime. A win. A win.
We talked about this on a previous show. Just, Cato does get after his hometown teams from Milwaukee. By the way, we have a sports-themed show today, an NBA-themed show today, an NBA scandal-themed show today. I might be the one talking most about the scandals, but that's okay. That's my job. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Make sure you download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Follow us. Write us a review.
Yeah.
Multiple stars, and share it. Share it with everybody, too.
I'm telling you, every time I post on this and on my Instagram, it's immediate thousands and thousands of views, which is great.
Yep.
Because usually I just post a lot of jokes and little things I do, and I've sort of bookend them now, and it's gone phenomenal. And every one of our shows is good. I always tell people, go to YouTube or even go to your tube. It doesn't matter. Go to YouTube, watch our show. It's that good.
Borrow somebody's tube if you have to.
If you have to.
Okay.
Wisconsin, a lot of water tubing. I don't even have done that. I go up north every August in Wisconsin, up in the Lac des Flambeaux area, because that's what we do in Wisconsin.
Let me see.
We love the summer.
The big question is, when you go tubing in Wisconsin, how many, cases of beer can you fit into an inner tube?
Well, it's not even that way. We have a pontoon boat. The pontoon boat has all the liquor cases. My brother-in-law has an actual tap, a beer tap in the pontoon boat. And the greatest thing about this, we can fit 20 people on there. We go every July. In August, I make 2 trips, and then it goes into a Indian casino. And I'm telling you, it is I gamble and I do my thing. I always I look for Sir Compa drink. So anything, we are always
Sir Compa drink. Well, that's pretty much your life, isn't it? Sir Comp Cato.
I love comps.
Cato hasn't paid for a drink. In 28 years, maybe 27?
I'm not even a big drinker. My buddies love going out with me because I get the free drinks and I pass them to them.
Yeah, that's cool. By the way, I want to make a trip to Wisconsin with you. I want to go to Milwaukee. Milwaukee's such a fun city.
Oh, it's a beautiful city.
Festive, vibrant. It's like a mini Chicago with that summer energy.
They have banks there. I don't know if you knew that. You can cash checks.
That'll come up.
That's also called a callback for something later.
Hey, if you're new to our show, well, where have you been? By the way, this guy here, I've said it all along, this was one thing inside that was ready to explode for Cato. I thought a podcast was the number one thing for Cato, and I think he's proving it. So go back and watch our old shows. They're all timely. One of the best ones we had was when we had the lawyer from Louisville who was at the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, right? And that was fascinating. Go back and listen to that. It's a blow-by-blow account of what was going on in the trial.
The DUI guy. And I follow him. He's always got some fascinating
Larry Foreman, he's fantastic.
Has never lost a case defending drunk drivers.
Yeah. He's a machine in Louisville. But so that case just won't go away, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the other night you heard Amber Heard's sister go off about Johnny Depp's appearance on MTV. So I checked it out, right? Yeah. Oh, by the way, watching the MTV Awards, it feels weird. It's like they're evolve. I don't know. It just felt like kind of a throwback into the 90s, but not as good. So they brought Johnny Depp in, and they must have just thought of this at the last minute because it didn't seem tremendously thought out. They superimposed his face in this space guy that was hovering over the arena, and then he had some comments about, I need work, hire me, I'll do anything, I could be a dentist. So it was weird. Now, was it as offensive as Amber Heard's sister Whitney made it seem like it was? I mean, relax. You lost the case. You lost the trial. Get over it. Johnny Depp didn't kill anybody. He didn't run over anybody. He didn't kidnap anybody. You lost the case.
And we had our last guest, Paul Baresi. He tried to find dirt on Johnny Depp, and he couldn't.
That's what he said. Yeah, he said he couldn't find anything on him.
So you got to say good guy. But I didn't see what he did, but I would think that's sort of pandering. Why would Johnny Depp want to be a megastar saying, "I'll do anything for work"?
I think he was
that's the
making fun of
wrong
light of the
dialogue.
situation, even though he's got that $300 million deal in the back pocket, I think already, right? But I think, it's him kind of slowly reintroducing himself back to the public, in a big way. And I guess maybe it's one of those things that looks better on paper.
Yeah.
Like if you're an NBA coach, you drop that play that looks pretty good on the whiteboard, and then it goes to shit, right?
Yes,
After the
yeah.
timeout, just doesn't work.
And then they had this. I think this. The only thing I saw online was this Lizzo character. Lizzo, a rather heavy set woman doing some sort of speech. She made it political. It's like, come on, just wear your Gautier dress. Go. Move.
They're going to lose Cato
very-
once they talk politics on a show
exactly.
like
Yeah,
that.
I'm very anti.
By the way, what'd you think of Aaron Rodgers' stance on the Joe Rogan podcast? Pretty interesting.
Joe Rogan did 3 hours with Rodgers. I'm going to listen to all three. I think it's first of all, I'm Green Bay. I love Rodgers. I think he's the GOAT. I think my personal opinion better than Brady, but never the right team. He's got one Super Bowl, but him coming out saying, I'm not going to do the vaccine. And he proved it. The NFL, he says the unions in NBA, the unions in NFL are the worst unions, what his words were. And that,
he said that the NFL. He said the NFL would send a stooge to the team if you're not taking the shot, and then
he questioned that. He said to the guy, "Well, there's no drawback for them. You can't sue the pharmacy company." So he had all these questions. The guy said, "Well, I'm not a lawyer. I can't answer that."
See,
Not
you don't
the
want to
right
argue with
answer.
Aaron Rodgers because he's intelligent.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's a smart
he's a
guy.
Cal Bear.
He does his research, and he's not a fool, right? So you're not just going to ram something down his throat or in his shoulder. It's just not going to happen.
He's a holistic kind of guy too. And I just won a Super Bowl, Aaron. And you know what? It's his choice not to get the vax. He didn't get the vax. And sure enough, look how many people have been double vax, all coming down with COVID because they're shooting COVID into you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Jeez,
It's crazy.
I'm not a doctor.
I know. Hey, by the way, I love how you say all I want is a Super Bowl. You already had one. Right? You ask your teams, all I want is a championship.
World Series.
Like it's a
And
vending
Super Bowl,
machine. Give me an NBA championship. Give me the World Series.
E4 Fritos.
Hey, if there was an E4 in the Brewer game, you'd be on Twitter swearing at somebody. Hey, by the way, before we get to our guest, Tom Brady took a little leave of absence from the Bucs. I love Brady. I was in Boston working for Fox when he was a rookie. I was in the locker room every day. Nobody knew who Tom Brady was back then. His second year is when he exploded onto the scene. It was unbelievable. By the way, if you ever want to get me going, ask me about Bill Belichick and where I think he stands in the history of coaches. Boom. Most overrated coach in the history of the NFL. And I can back that up with data, figures, facts. This is not just me being a psycho.
He picked Brady.
Anyway, Brady was the man. And your thoughts? Is he dealing with some big, and by the time some people listen to this podcast, we might know all the details.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But he was saying that he's dealing with some shit at home. He goes, I'm 45 years old. I got a lot going on in my life. What did you think when you heard that?
What did I think of that?
Yeah.
I immediately said, it's a wife problem going on. Huge. It's got to be something at home. He's got the kids. I'm sure she said to him last year, this is it. You're retiring. That's my opinion. And you're not going to go back to football. You're 45. It's time for family. And then he went back to it.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, it's this family time. So he probably said, I'll take 2 weeks off. We'll go on a vacation. And he looked gaunt, I thought. Very thin, but that's probably from working out. But that's my opinion. I think it has to be family related.
Okay.
100%.
Interesting. That's Cato's opinion. Let me give you mine. Here's what I think it is. I'm not joking. I think he looks at that offensive line. He's lost his center. He's lost 2 guards. Gronk isn't there. He has no weapons. He has nobody to protect him. I don't think he wants to play. I think the reality of what he's in store for this year has said, Now, keep this in mind. He's got a $350+ million contract with Fox. He'd make more money broadcasting games than playing quarterback. He's not going to get killed doing that unless he falls out of the press box or something.
Yeah,
I think he wants to broadcast this year. I think he will broadcast this year. I think he'll be doing games on Fox this year.
Great
I don't know
call.
about the Masked Singer. Possibly.
Maybe that's where he was.
Well, that's one of the rumors, and he's going to be doing more than just football for Fox, but I would not be shocked if I see Tom Brady broadcasting games this year. They have the Super Bowl. Do you think they want their Plan B color commentator in there for the Super Bowl?
Well,
hell no.
Interesting to say that, but I think I'm right with mine. I think you're right with yours. But here's a point. One more thing I was going to bring up, and then that's it, because I can't wait to meet our guest. Did you realize that in the history of the NFL, there's never been a a team that's in the Super Bowl have the game at their home stadium. It happened with Tampa Bay, and then it happened 2 years in a row. Just happened with the Rams. This year it's going to be in Arizona, but I don't think the Cardinals are going to make it.
Probably a safe bet.
But isn't there?
It's unbelievable.
The odds.
50-some years, it's never happened. And they talk about it every year. Because every team, like I remember when the Minnesota Vikings, I'm from Minnesota, the Vikings thought it was going to be them when they ended up playing Philly in the NFC Championship game in 2018. They had the Super Bowl at home, and then they lay an egg out there in Philly. They thought it was going to be them for the first time. But 2 years in a row, that is an anomaly, and that's crazy. And you're right. I think the streak ends this year.
Yeah,
I think so. All right, here we go. Not too much football talk. I don't want to put our guests to sleep.
No, there'll be scandal. We will keep it.
Somewhere
we'll make
in
a scandal happen somehow, even on our show. Come in. I'm sorry. Someone at the door with a gun.
Cato, I'd like to introduce you to Phil Weber, longtime NBA coach. About as connected as there is an individual in the NBA, knows everybody, has done it all. Played basketball at North Carolina State for the late, great Jimmy V, Jim Valvano, who they're making a movie about.
Wait a minute, you told me Dick Weber, the bowler.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's going on here? Hey,
welcome.
I have the wrong questions. Holy cow, I'm kidding. Phil, I studied you. Phil, Cato Kalin, Tom Zenner, so good to see you.
Yeah, my bowling average is about, I don't know, about 99.
99.
But what I will tell you is this: I'm going to have a hard time keeping up with you guys. Holy cow! And I've been making notes on what topics we're talking about. And again, what you guys are talking about is you guys do a lot of research. Holy cow! You guys are up on it.
Our job. Hey, by the way, Phil, you may not have done any bowling, but Cato spent a lot of time in the gutter. Okay, so he can relate a little bit.
Just me. And as a matter of fact, I have 3 strikes, so you can call me a turkey in the 9th frame. But it's so funny because I did research on you, and I'm going, now that I see you in person, I'm like, how could this, you've been around this, you look like you're in your 30s or so. You look like you're about 38 years old, and you've been coaching from the Suns, assistant coaching.
Here, I'll tell you his background. So, Phil, we can get into some of the stories, but we're going to talk about some NBA scandals because Phil has been around the league for a long time, and we have a lot of fun things to talk about. But assistant coach for some great teams. He was there when the Suns were doing their thing in 05, 6, 7, 8, 9 with Mike D'Antoni, Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, that great group. I mean, just the most entertaining team in the game. He was in Miami working with the Miami Heat. He was in New Orleans, and he was with the Knicks. Madison Square Garden, his home state, his home city. He got to coach in the Garden. You can't beat that for a local boy, right, Phil?
No, I mean, I'll tell you right now, tickets were really rough. Being so close and family and friends and stuff, going back home is amazing, though. But the Garden is the Garden, right? The Garden is the Garden. And you ask players around the league, and, it's, definitely top 3. A lot of times it's top 1.
Here, Cato, let me ask him this real quick.
It was great to go
Did you have a crazy story about James Dolan? Because everybody I talked to that had to work for him, the guy is a nightmare. He's incompetent. And I'm not just saying this. I talked to high-ranking executives that work for him, and he wasn't the most dazzling individual. Hot-headed, not real. I don't know. Go ahead. Any stories?
Well, no. I mean, come on. So, from my perspective, and again, I just saw the same perspective from Tibbs, and what you get there is it was nice, from you. They give you absolutely everything to succeed. I'm just sad that, we did what our plan was. Our plan right there was Mike and I and our staff went there in 08.
Now, Phil, keep in mind, this isn't a huge NBA crowd. So Tibbs is Tom Thibodeau.
Okay.
Mike is Mike D'Antoni.
I got it. Long story. I won't say, we didn't get it done. I wanted to succeed. So
who cares? You got some good stories. That's all I care about.
We just had Linsanity. That was somewhat, notable,
Jeremy Lin, of course, that sort of got a lot of Asians involved in basketball. But let me ask a question. When you were at the Knicks and all that, did the players really like that Spike Lee was there? Was there really that thing going on Spike Lee? Did Spike Lee hang out with the team afterward? Because every camera shot would be Spike Lee. And then Spike Lee didn't have a film forever, and he was at these games with these great seats. I'm sure they're very, he probably has season tickets always. I don't know if they're comped. but then Spike Lee got the Capital One commercials with Barkley, and then the Knicks had those.
But he's a New York
years.
icon, isn't he, Spike?
Yeah, I know,
he's,
but,
sure.
what do you think?
New York, and he was there, Cato. He was there before the games. He was talking to guys.
So the fans, they love him.
Different New York events. Hey, I know LA has got a little bit of that vibe, right? So you go out, you see people, you're in different industries, and a lot was Melo and all the guys that we had, Amari. Everybody knew him. Now I don't know how social they got. I try not to delve into it, but he was always there. He was a true supporter.
The more you win, the friendlier he is. I mean, that's the more you hang out with him.
There's no question.
But you know what? When that home team, that local team catches fire, man, it just brings the whole city together. I don't care what team it is. There's just nothing can do that like sports.
Yeah.
And that's why sports is so great. It's and you can get past what this country is going through politically and how divided it is. I was at Yankee Stadium this summer, right? Took Dash, had a great time, had so much fun. I didn't know who I was sitting next to, if it was a Democrat or Republican. It didn't matter. You're high-fiving them. You're having a great time. That's why sports is the best. That's why the ratings are so good for sports. That's why people can't wait for the NFL season to start. There's nothing like sports.
Well, the thing about it is you can't create some stuff. You just can't. It's like Hollywood to certain extent, because let's just take Linsanity, the peak of Linsanity.
Right. And everybody, let me tee this up. Everybody, this was
Jeremy.
Jeremy Lin when he caught fire, and he was like captivating the nation. It led the newscast on every network because he was filling in and going off and winning games with last second jumpers and scoring 35, 40 points a game.
And wasn't he Harvard also?
No, he went
Harvard, Asian, and
he was Harvard. It was like he had all these things.
He transcended.
I was going to say
sports
completely.
He transcended sports. CNN, I don't care whatever network you had, he was the lead story.
Right.
Well, here's the peak moment though. Imagine this. And my boy Brian Colangelo was president of the Raptors at the time, and so he kind of understood that the Asian population in Toronto was really, really significant, right? Mm-hmm. He raises the price on our Knick game for the ones that hadn't been sold, right? Yeah, he's just taking advantage.
Wow. I know that's good, but
and
he sold out.
So literally, we had won 6 in a row. In a row. We are tied with 5 seconds to go in a game, and we have a screen supposedly come up for your non-basketball people. He was a player to come up and go off of it, and guess what happens? He waves off the screen. So get out of here, basically. I got this. Yeah. And he rises up with 1 second on the clock. Bam!
I know.
And we're in Toronto. It was the loudest I've ever heard an arena when we win the game.
Yeah, you're right, Phil. That was the apex of it. I do remember that. He had a couple other buzzer beaters, but let me ask you this: is someone that was around him? You were part of this. Was he in disbelief himself when he was at shoot around, or you'd run into him at the hotel? What did you do? What did you tell him? Just because he had never shown that this was even something that would be remotely possible.
And also the other egos of the other players on the team.
Like Carmelo was bitching about it constantly.
I was going to say, it had to be problems.
He was pouting, Carmelo.
Well, there you go.
It caught everybody by surprise. Everybody. He's as good a person.
Yeah,
I know this is scandalous. As he is, as he was a player. He was really good player, but an amazing human being.
Which, it is
outside
a
that
show.
summer when he robbed all those Girl Scouts of their cookies. But other than that, he's great.
But speaking of scandal, I don't know if Jeremy Lin, is he married? He's a single guy.
I believe he's still single. I think he just moved back into the States.
Okay, so this is why I bring this up. The reason I bring it up, I went to quite a few, Laker games. I went to many, many Milwaukee Buck games, and I always noticed that there is, after the game, it would be all these hot-looking women who I know that they didn't even know what the basketball really was. I don't know if they watched the game, but they would go right towards the locker room. And I saw it for myself. You can agree or not agree. But are there so many groupies? And Jeremy Lin, during Linsanity, he must have had a ton of groupies. And all the players, they have women that just go right there by the locker room. Not in the locker room, but they wait.
Well, the people that are waiting there they have family passes. So what category of family that falls under? Yeah. Every player has
open to interpretation.
Sly and the family, Stone family. What are you talking about? We are family.
Hey, what Phil's trying to say is the groupies waited till they got to the Four Seasons, and that's where they were.
I'm going to get a scandal out of Phil. I don't care what goes on. I don't care if you got a scandal on Dick Wnba. Tell me something.
Hey, So we can get a little scandal with the Tim Donaghy because of the Lakers, right?
Yeah.
So
The guy that was fixing
we're
games
playing-
as a referee.
Yeah,
Okay,
he was the
this is-
official who got busted for cheating. He was talking to the mob or whoever his
Wow.
bookies were and stuff like that. And he's out now. He's giving speeches on it. That's what happens when you then when you get caught
In
right?
Vegas?
Then you
Got to
go-
make money somehow.
You got you turn government.
So with Tim Donaghy, did any of the coaches, did anybody know this guy is on the take at some time? Did anybody start thinking, this
guy's
is something's
dirty.
not right? Did you know?
There's no way to know.
And
What
how
you notice
how
is-
did he do it?
Well, it's easy. I mean, it really is. If there's intent, and no one will know. Like, there's so many 50-50 calls, right? A block charge. There's amount of all of a sudden he penetrates in, there's a little touch right there, right? And they took away hand checking. So there's so many ways that if you really wanted to do it, you could do it.
Yeah,
you could do it. And
you could do it. And a
that's-
trained eye like a
that-
coach would see
and
it.
that changes.
He made a lot of money, by the way. They wrote a book about this, right?
Yeah.
About
Yes,
this.
yes,
And by the way, that author was supposed to join us, but he's too busy. There's a Netflix show, so he doesn't have time for us.
That's right. Well,
Not that I'm annoyed or anything. Okay. Yes, Phil, you're exactly right. There's little things that you could do. Can you imagine that guy every night, though, knowing that he has to fix this game or the mob's going to be on him? I mean, geez, the incredible pressure that I don't feel sorry for him at all. What a creep to do that. But man, the inner turmoil that he had to be
And
dealing
I
with.
don't know
Well,
how
then
many
the other part of that is the filter, because he's not just looking at the result; he's looking at how he gets the result. And if he's doing that, the NBA and how they view it, because it can't.
Yeah.
You lose. That's the third rail right there.
Sure, it's like having an affair with a stripper, right? If you're a married guy, I mean, you're gonna get busted, and it's gonna be ugly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you are working for the mob and you're an NBA referee, it's not going to end well on multiple levels,
Right.
more than likely.
Have there ever been any NBA scandals that never saw the light of day, like they were squashed before they became a scandal? Right? Have there? Can you say that?
That was just a Wednesday for Dennis Rodman.
Can you?
If I tell you, I got to kill you, right? It's one of the.
Hey, I'm trying to get one out of you, baby.
Hey, let me ask you this, Phil. Phil, honestly, since you're not coaching in the league right now, you may come back, and we're going to talk about your book that you have out here this show too, which is really an awesome accomplishment and a phenomenal book. But okay, so there's 30 teams in the NBA. You got to have developed a severe hatred for some of the fans. Which fan base was so obnoxious, so ridiculous, getting under your skin that you just have to put them in your top 5? Which was the worst fan bases?
Well, I'll tell you a story in the playoffs. It was hilarious. And this is back with Scott Skiles, and we were in the playoffs against Sacramento when they were Sacramento, right? When they were good. And that's another one of the games that they said that Donaghy fixed because they wanted the Lakers. With Sacramento, one of those series.
right.
I can't remember specifics.
Chris Webber
But
years.
We showed up in the playoffs, and they had a row right behind our bench because it was the old arena. It was Arco, and it was just so tight. Every single one of those 15 people had cowbells.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
Obnoxious.
just
That's not a beautiful
went.
sounding instrument, by the way.
That answers the Christopher Walken question.
Okay, so
More cowbell.
Sacramento's the worst. Got it.
No, well, I don't. They've mellowed.
Okay.
They've mellowed.
Well, they don't have anything
There's
to cheer
something-
about anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably
Yeah.
what it is. And I think Boston, they get a bad rap, and I didn't necessarily really feel it until I was in the front office for the Pelicans my last 2 years there, and I was up near the stands because when you're in a coach and you're your player, so you don't feel so much unless it
locked
gets
in.
really really crazy, right? But when you're kind of amongst them, oh my gosh, they're getting hammered. They're getting hammered. They're getting and some foul. And we've heard
Sure.
some stuff this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it came out this year.
Yeah, I don't think the Celtics fans get a bad rap. I think they are bad. Okay, Boston fans in general deserve every rap they get. Okay, they are that bad. Should I tell you one story about a Boston fan? Check this out. Okay, so when I was working in Boston, Patriots were playing the Vikings. This is probably 1999. Okay, old Foxborough Stadium. So I had a lot of friends that were at the game. I was working for Fox in Boston for the local station in Boston. There's a renowned doctor maybe at Brigham and Women's, a big time hospital in Boston, who was a surgeon, okay? He was a Vikings fan. He grew up in Minnesota. He had one of those Helga Horns things on with the long hair like some of those Viking fans wear. I'll put it up on the YouTube version of this show so you can see what I'm talking about. So long, it's got this like little helmet thing with long blonde hair. In the middle of the game, he feels something tugging, like something's pulling on his helmet. He reaches back there, and it was the fan behind him with shears cutting off the hair. Instead, they got his hand. Surgeon. Career over.
Oh, wow.
That guy ran out of the stadium. They couldn't catch him. It literally ended this guy's career. So, yeah, Boston, I've been around those fans a lot. I mean, they're great fans. I mean, they got a lot to cheer about, but that's pretty nasty.
Come on, that'd be a
if they
huge
could find the
lawsuit.
guy, for sure. I don't even know if they had cameras in there, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's nutty. No, the league is great, though.
We lost you for a second.
Tom, you and I kind of discussed best cities you don't want to go to. I'll tell you right now, well, actually, it was probably 2 weeks ago. They give us our schedule. They give you a schedule. So summer. And to me, I always called it the world according to Phil, right? Because you could ask me, where are you going to be at March 15th? And because I was in the league so long, I could see what city I was going to be in. I'll tell you what restaurant I'm going to go to, what hotel we're going to stay at. But, there are some cities that the first thing you look for is you look for what nights you don't have a back-to-back. Now, those are less now. They're really load management are less.
So you get an extra night in a good city, hopefully.
You get an extra night. So you get an extra night in a good city. But sometimes they're linked. Like some people are going to be, I don't know if this is good or bad, because they're doing a lot of the LA, and New York, right? So now you're in LA
4 days
for 4 or 5 nights.
Wow, it's
depending on the maturity level and the dedication of your guys.
Yeah,
it's playland.
I'll play a little game with you really quickly. I'll name a city. You tell me the place where you go looking at the schedule. Milwaukee.
I would. There was a sandwich place right around the corner, and it was usually cold, so I didn't venture outside.
Thanks for selling Milwaukee. Thanks for selling Milwaukee for me, baby.
Hey, let me say this though.
All right.
Summertime, Skiles told me was amazing there.
It is.
He said it was one of the best cities that you could ever possibly go to.
It's a festival every night of the summer. They have a festival.
He said
that goes on. Nothing like it.
But guess what?
And the food, by the way, the best food.
Yeah, December, and it's. I just haven't been able to experience.
Well, you probably got a sandwich at Cousin's Sub Shop.
Okay, I just texted you. Check your phone.
Okay.
I'm going to ask Phil where you would go in Minneapolis. Now, we know it's cold, Phil, but you could afford a nice warm coat. Okay, so don't give me any bullshit excuses that you didn't go out in Minneapolis. You stayed downtown.
I have the answer.
Give me your favorite restaurant in Minneapolis after you beat the crap out of the Timberwolves. Where would you go?
Yeah,
have a nice glass of wine.
Yeah, I know. You're killing me right
room
now.
Service.
Because you're asking specifics.
Manny's or Murray's, two of the great steakhouses in downtown Minneapolis.
Well, it is. I've been there a couple times, And by the way, Tom, you have the walkways, right?
Yeah, the skywalk. The skyways, right? You can stay inside.
Hey, I have been so lost in those things, and there's never a map when you need it.
No,
Phil's got his ways walking through.
He's got breadcrumbs.
you can't see outside.
How about L.A.?
Okay, so L.A. has changed. It's changed.
It depends where the hotel is, and you stay at the Ritz and Marina Del Rey.
Yes. Oh, then you stay right there.
That used to be one of the spots, but now they have L.A. Live. And, when we were in 05, 06, I know, ancient history, it was like we were living, we had 2 places, Phoenix, and we were living in the Beverly Wilshire. So you get used to all those different spots. You got Boulevard downstairs, so it's easy.
Pretty Women.
Huh?
The Pretty Woman film. You were staying right there at that hotel.
Yeah, I know. It was amazing. It was that, and I would tell everybody that fact that was.
And also, you got Wolfgang Puck. You got Cut there. You got, anyways. It's all these. You got the best of the best here in LA. And,
now the worst.
Go for
and it's
it.
gotten better, but Detroit was not high on my list. Right.
Yeah.
It just wasn't high on my list.
I've been there.
And that whole up there
in Pontiac, right? It was so far away. Remember the Silverdome?
Milwaukee. I'm sorry, it wasn't one of the best. I mean, because you just stay at it's the weather. Now Toronto was a good one. Toronto's a good
very
one.
cosmopolitan city. You're right in the heart of downtown.
You got the
Toronto's
Pfister
cool.
Hotel in Milwaukee.
Toronto's cool.
Phil, let me ask you this: did this scenario ever happen to you as an NBA coach? You're watching these finely tuned athletes in a game, scoring 34 points. Maybe 12 rebounds, 5-6 assists, couple blocks, incredible dunk, team defense, just outstanding game. You go out to dinner with them after the game, got a couple guys, maybe a couple coaches. The check comes, and you go to yourself, I cannot believe what a cheap bastard that guy is for putting up such a good box score. Were players cheap? Did they pick up the tab for dinners when they went out with the coaches?
You know, I almost correlate it to successful teams, right? I almost correlate it to successful teams because when you have good teams, usually you never have any of that because it's just it's part of their culture, right? And Mike D'Antoni and I would get into these conversations, and we boiled it down because you don't want to have a lot of rules. If you have rules, and you have bad guys, they're not going to pay attention to the rules anyway, right? And if you have good guys, they don't need them. So what are rules? Right, because it's what do you do with this thing?
Right, so, you got to police yourselves a little bit as a professional athlete.
But there are some guys that have alligator arms, but I'm not going to blow anybody up today. I'm sorry, Cato.
That's right, Tom Zenner, alligator.
I got this.
I got it. Hey, I'm kidding. Tom's the kindest guy. I open my wallet and moths come out. When was the last time what is going on? There's a moth. But don't they have? Doesn't the team?
Per diem.
You're not paying me.
You get per diem.
Per diem.
By the way, that's the best thing ever.
It's
per diem.
Do they hand out cash at the beginning of a road trip?
You know what happens. Now it depends on team. Now in Phoenix, what would happen is it was almost like you sit in your assigned bus seat. And then they come around. The trainer will come around and give you an envelope, and here it is, baby. And then for coaches, it was even better, because the head coach usually buys, right? So whenever you go, he would just buy. So now that's just you just pocket that one.
Oh yeah. That's just like that's free. That's free money. You're going to the talking stick that night.
Yeah. Hey, so let me just tell you one of my happiest moments. Okay, and it involves one of your it's kind of scandalous.
Okay, good.
Kind of scandalous.
I like it.
Kind of scandalous. So All-Star game, right? All-Star game 07. We're coaching it, right? So we're taking us, and we have the West because our record's really good. And with it, maybe this isn't scandalous, and I apologize, Tom, but it made me feel good. So if the winning team gets like double, and it's big money for
how much? 20 grand
speaking.
For a coach? 15?
Like 40.
40
grand?
Winning.
Wow. For the winning.
Do you guys have to split that up amongst the coaching staff or per coach?
No. Each.
Nice.
20 and 40.
Damn, you want to win that game, Cato. They might even play defense.
I like that. We're paying you that.
So do you want to know what? And I was going to tell you one of my happiest moments when Kobe rallied the troops and say, "We are gonna win this sucker. We're."
I bet he didn't say sucker.
It was because you know how those things go. They're kind of coasting through.
Until the
You
end.
score, I score. No. Kobe was, we are going to win this. We are going to win this. And
nice. You owe Kobe a commission, Phil. You owe him 20%.
Huh?
You owed Kobe 20% commission back then.
Hey, I'll give it to him. No question.
Hey, Cato, you know what I think is one of the biggest mysteries in professional sports? Definitely the NBA. You've got an 82-game schedule, right? Yeah. So you're traveling a lot. This is a 6-month season through the playoffs.
October.
Where the hell do these players find the time to get so many tattoos? I mean, does this happen on the team bus? Is the backup point guard and the assistant trainer writing some ink?
It's the month of August.
Is that when they do it? Do they do it in the off season, or are they going down to the mall or downtown on an off day?
Open up a tattoo shop now.
Seriously, I'm really perplexed by this.
I'm only going to be open in August.
Cato, have you never thought of this? The amount of tattoos that they have. When do you find the time?
I think they did it before they got in the NBA.
I don't think so.
And then they add them.
Well, new ink, right? New ink is they'll go and they'll come back they'll come back in the summer and you'll see new ink, right? It's
right.
Some it's more, than others, but yeah.
To
each his own, but it was more It's more now, obviously.
Yeah. It's amazing. You were around, the greatest players of our generation. You saw them, coached a lot of them, played against them, tried to beat them. You got to get involved in the Michael and LeBron debate. I covered Michael for 3 years. I saw him every game. He's the best. There's no one, you cannot touch him. LeBron's a great player, but he's not Michael. But where do you stand in this?
You see,
and you can't compare
again,
stats because of longevity.
I never get involved in those only because I know that they guard him different. They were allowed to guard him different. You talk about Donahue and being able to be physical and Raja being physical. Well, Michael played with hand checking.
Yeah.
Who knows what he would have been able to do?
But Phil, get away from the basketball analysis of it. Don't you find it utterly unbelievable how polarizing LeBron is for as great of a player as he is? Maybe the greatest ever. No one's going to touch his stats. 5 championships. Mount Rushmore of the NBA. But he's polarizing. With Michael, everybody loved him. Nobody had a negative thought about Michael Jordan. It's just weird. I mean, I don't even think LeBron's a big deal here in LA.
That they lost in the championships, they didn't have a positive thought about Michael.
The only guy that kept him under 20 was Dean Smith.
Yeah.
But Cato, don't you agree?
I agree. I'm going to take Michael's side on that. I think everybody, even the campaign, be like Mike. Yeah. There's not going to be a be like LeBron.
But Phil, what's real? And Cato, you live in LA. Yeah. I live in LA. I don't look at LeBron as a big star in LA. Do you?
Nope.
I mean, I know he's a great basketball player, but I don't think of him. Oh my God, LeBron! You might see him at a club or a restaurant. You don't
live in Cleveland, right? You don't live in Cleveland. I mean, there's a difference where you join the franchise, right? Because you have those roots and you come from there.
But he's so big as a player.
He's big in Cleveland, not LA. You're right. He's much bigger in Cleveland. That's where he's from. That's where his charity is.
And hey, Tom, you're absolutely right. He is polarizing. It's hilarious because there are some people that just absolutely he's like the draw. And then there's others for whatever reason.
Well, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. It's because the different time. The times are of the wokeness.
Well, of course.
Is not
and he's
during
very
Michael.
Political. He's very political.
I mean, you have Enes Kanter or Freedom, and they have who wears his tennis shoes. They were kind of they didn't hug each other after the game. I think the story was LeBron avoided the handshake. I think I'm not positive.
With Freedom?
Allegedly, I think so. Okay. I'm not positive on that, so we can cut that part. But I know there's this animosity and Enes Kanter, by the way, I respect the guy because my opinion, he says it like it is. He knows there's
he's an
things
immigrant.
Are going in China.
He knows what the American dream is like.
He is. He became a citizen. He says, you don't know how great you have it in this country. He goes, you come from where I'm from, Turkey, you're going to see that it's different. He knows also communist and he's just anti-communist China, which, he sees the human rights violations that are going on there. But anyways, I'm not going to get political, but I appreciate that. He speaks his mind, and he took a beating for it, but my God, that
he doesn't
takes
back
a
down,
lot.
though. I love
he doesn't back down, and he speaks his mind, so
No,
I respect him for that.
That aspect of it,
Yeah,
you have to respect.
Yeah.
Have to respect.
You know what, Phil? Don't you feel kind of as great as LeBron is? And I mean, when he left Miami, I remember ESPN doing this, Sports Center special on him, and then they ran the 4-year highlights. It was sick what he was doing. The elevation, the power, the speed. Just as an elite athlete, I think his heyday was those 4 years in Miami. But I think because he's so damn political and he doesn't care about being liked, right? And he's not very good at being liked. He's not, you're not drawn to him. He's not magnetic. When you watch his commercials, he doesn't have that charm or charisma, that superstars have, which I find odd. But I think it lessens people's thoughts of him as a player because he's so out there socially and just on social media and politically that you kind of forget how great he is.
That's a good point.
All I got to say is I have some jewelry because of him. So
that's a great answer. And I also
I appreciate that aspect of it. The other stuff, and again, it's I think it starts at the top, and I think very early in his leadership, Adam just was going to do that.
Adam Silver, commissioner.
Adam Silver wanted to, and it starts at the top, and
right.
And I don't think, maybe you could use some illustrations, maybe like a Freedom, where it's different. but from the most part of it, he wants players to speak out.
And
He
if
wants players.
Yeah, and if you know Shaq, can you please tell him no more commercials? Please. Can we just get Shaq not
That'll
to do
never
every
happen.
commercial, please?
Shaq is
what
great. I love
doesn't
Shaq.
I
what
think Shaq
doesn't
does
he have a
every
commercial on?
with one take. Oh, I'm good, man. I'm good, bro. Oh, that's good. Wrap it. Let's go. I got to go do 5 more commercials, bro. Yeah, it's pretty funny. He's everywhere. He's everywhere, from cruise lines to the general insurance to whatever, man.
He's at Staples, and I'll tell you this, because my little girl's 2.5, right? So my wife is gone to Staples, and she knew I coached him in Phoenix. So there's this big cutout, 2 of them right there. And my wife sends me this video with Shaq and my little girl. And
That's
Shaq's, he looked a little thinner. He looked his playing weight at that picture.
He was intermittently fasting back then.
Yes.
But when Shaq was playing, man, I mean, he looks like he's so big right now. He's so massive. But back then, wow, he was a force.
He's literally the most dominating physical player. I mean, it's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
Maybe Wilt.
Yeah, maybe
you see
Wilt,
some of the clips
but nobody
of Wilt
sees any
back
video.
Way back then.
Hey, you guys, in
my
1990, I had just gotten out of college, and I was starting my first job in TV in Sioux City, Iowa. And the U.S. Olympic Festival, remember they had that in the off years for the younger generation of future Olympians. It was called the U.S. Olympic Festival. They had basketball. They had it in Minneapolis that summer. And I went to the basketball, and this is the first time I had heard of Shaq. First time I had seen him, I think it was before he was a freshman at LSU. He had 22 block shots in a game, and he tore down the rim. This was before he went to college. I'm going, this was at Williams Arena in Minneapolis on the University of Minnesota campus. Wow. I could not believe it. I'm going, who is this guy? Yeah. Unbelievable.
Okay, to follow up that one, how about, I mean, I couldn't believe this. So I was working with Dwayne Shensis, who I coached when I was at the University of Florida. I was real young. He was playing for the Nets. Okay, so the Nets were going to play Orlando in the Meadowlands, and I'm getting there late because I'm coaching at Iona. I get done with practice, so I'm literally back. Like, it's Orlando was the biggest draw. Penny and Shaq were it, right? It was packed. So I'm walking back, and I was giving this little heavy-set black boy a little hard time. I said, Orlando, because he had this big Orlando, coat on, right? And I'm like, Orlando. And I promise you, he turns to me and says, Shaq's going to break a backboard tonight. If you watch it, it was on my guy in that game.
Shinsis?
Rammed the whole thing, and
that's
they had a
right. It collapsed.
Delay.
Right, remember that thing?
Broke the backboard.
I was a big boy, Cato.
Okay, well, while I'm talking to you, I keep saying to Tom during our commercials, I'm saying, how do you make them thirsty? How do you make them thirsty? Why that title of your best-selling book?
Okay. So, having been an assistant coach for the longest time, okay, and I was head coach internationally. I was a head coach in the G League for the Miami Heat, but I didn't think I had a platform for writing a book, right? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't until I saw a thought leader on a podcast, right? And he said, everybody says that you lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And it's what he said next that changed my mind, because he said, what I want to know is, how do you make him thirsty? And I literally wrote my outline in like an hour after that, because I went from out of coaching to the bench of the Phoenix Suns in a day. And I had worked with all these over 100 players in LA in the old men's gym at UCLA, Kobe and all the Lakers, all UCLA, all those, because I was living I moved to Brentwood because I was going back and forth to LA, to UCLA so much. And no, it was an amazing, Danny's vision for understanding, because I arguably was one of the first, if not the first, to ever be hired for player development. So it's a development book.
Cool.
And I don't say this to impress you, more so to impress upon you. I've consumed over 500 books in the science of personal achievement. So
I have to say something quickly, because it just brings back a memory. And I don't know if our paths ever crossed, but in the 95, when you're coaching in 95, I was very, very famous at the time. I became friends with someone you probably know named Frank Burkowski. Frank played for the Bucks. He played for the Lakers, San Antonio. He was about 6'10", hilarious guy. He loved my sense of humor. And I was in the OJ trial, and he thought he wanted to meet, and I wanted to meet, and we became buddies. He invited me to UCLA at the scrimmage games and said, I can actually play. I played JV at Wisconsin Eau Claire, and I played in my high school. And I played against guys that were pros.
In the summer league.
I'm not kidding you.
Yeah.
And they put me in
Well,
because
it
I was
probably wasn't a summer league.
Okay, no.
UCLA.
I meant the trade.
It was
just
at
the pickup games
and
that all the
pickup games
players
in
play.
UCLA, at UCLA.
Yes.
On the
yeah.
courts, he put me in there, and everybody's kind of joking, making fun, like it's Kate, because everybody recognized who it was there. So I'm playing. I made 3 3-pointers. Magic Johnson was there. I did a behind-the-back pass to someone. Magic was just there, behind-the-back pass, and then one guy just said, "Cato got game."
Cato,
And I'll never
that is
forget
an
that.
amazing
And then
story.
Frank was a god that day because he said, "I brought him here. I brought him here." And I swear, I used to have a 3-pointer, and I used to play at Harvard Westlake and over
So
at
that gym you played in, that's where I had every single one of my workouts. When I first walked, Baron Davis was the first person.
Baron Davis, too. Yes, Baron was there.
Baron Davis
That's the
was
name.
the
And
first
he used to
person
play at a lawyer's house. We used to play Thursdays. John Barenka, very famous lawyer in L.A., had a Thursday night game. I was invited to that game. Baron Davis was there. Justin Capono. He was
Jason
there.
Capono.
Jason Capono
Yeah.
there. I had game, so they invited me because I actually had game. I'm
Cato,
getting all excited
okay,
now.
but come on,
'cause I
that
used
is
to
an
have game.
unbelievable story.
It's
Phil,
true. That's
if,
true.
Phil, if you could have worked him out back in the day, who knows? You could have got him a 10-day contract.
I
used
don't know.
to. I could
don't know.
run. I used to be able to run
Hey,
marathons.
Tom, I just don't know how hard a worker he was. I'd have
Don't let the
I'd
hair
have to
back
see-
then fool you. I was.
I don't know how thirsty he was.
That's a
Listen,
good question.
My wife says I'm hung like a horse. That's all I know. I am thirsty.
Hey, Phil, back to your book. Congratulations on that.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I'm
for
gonna get
anybody, too, right? That's looking for that, maybe the little spark inside of them that
Motivation.
they can find to determine, do they have it? Do they have that motivation that they need?
To me, it boils down to a couple things. I mean, everybody's different. Everybody learns differently, and coaches have to understand that. You have to always improve as a coach, teacher, manager, whatever, and understand how they do it. And it's, I take very serious at that process. And, I've been blessed because of all the coaches and the players that have allowed me, and I've had the opportunity to work with. So it's not scandalous, but it's been a great ride.
But you mentioned so many players that are celebrity also, not just players from LeBron to Shaq. Do you have any stories, like maybe a Kobe story or anything like that?
So Vanessa just won that trial, right? With the photos taken at the crime scene or at the crash scene, which was horrible. But do you know the day of the verdict? August 24th? 8-24, Kobe's two numbers. Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
8
That's
and
pretty
24.
crazy.
Hey, listen, I'm sure
that's
Cato
pretty
has a great Kobe story. I'm going to tell you mine. And this just sums up Kobe. So, Phil, you remember my magazine, Post magazine,
Of course,
phenomenal
great.
magazine. Every athlete, it was a sports and celebrity lifestyle magazine. No stats, all lifestyle. So we had it set up. Now, we were in a magazine just based in Phoenix and Scottsdale at the time. We became a national magazine. But I think at the time, maybe we were still just a Phoenix magazine. We had it set up for Kobe to be on the cover. Photo shoot. We were going to do the whole thing, right? So it was scheduled for a Monday. On Sunday, the day before, they're playing on national TV against the Spurs. He breaks his finger. He's out of the game, wrapped up, bad, right? We get there the next day, and we had made this 45-pound road sign, like a highway department sign, because the All-Star game was in Phoenix that year, and then we had like a clever saying on there, 345 miles to Phoenix for the All-Star game. It was kind of cool. And Kobe was going to hold the sign, right? And we did the photo shoot, because the Lakers have their practice facility in El Segundo. There's no great place to do it there, so we had to do it like at a Holiday Inn near El Segundo's practice facility for the Lakers. Had no idea Kobe could still even do it. We're in this small little room. He rolls in with his Louis Vuitton shades on, sweats, looking so cool, right? The magnetic Louis Vuittons, they were so cool. Finger wrapped up like this, super thick, right? Broken finger. Says, "Where's the sign, fellas?" Holds the sign. I'll put it on the YouTube show. You'll see his broken finger as he's holding the thing. Could not have been cooler. Kobe, man, do we miss you, man. He was just such an amazing, amazing person and athlete.
My story was in Kobe, but I'll tell you one last one before you go, is that I was invited.
How about another Brukowski story?
It's kind of related. I became friends. I used to go back in the day to the Playboy Mansion. I met a lot of the players to be there, but also I became friends with Jerry Buss. So Jerry invited me a few times to his private suite to Laker games, so I went to his private suite. But the sports page at LA Times, when people were actually reading newspapers before they became a blanket for homeless people. So, anyways, I was on the cover of the front page, it was me laughing my ass off, Jerry Buss laughing my ass off one side, Phil Jackson laughing his ass off on one side, and I still have it on my refrigerator.
Front page of the LA Times?
Yeah.
In Jerry's suite. Now, did he have his 8 chicks there too? Didn't he always have like 8 women?
It was sweet. Yeah, there were women there, but it was just the 3 of us on the side. You see that I'm, and the person I'm with at that time, she was on the first or second year of American Idol, one of the finalists, and she was the person I went with, and then she became the girl that did interviews the next year. Because I forgot her name, but she's married, happy for her.
Kelly Clarkson?
But it was that year. So anyways, that was my story, but it was like,
that's so funny.
I'm making these guys crack up. That's my story, Phil Weber. Top it. No,
hey, Phil, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Fun.
Hey, Cato, let's put Phil on the spot.
Right.
I mean, NBA coaches got to be cool under pressure. They got to be able to handle.
Yeah.
Let's see if he can handle this. Recreate the most vulgar tirade you ever saw a coach go off on a team at halftime or on a referee. Who was the most foul-mouthed coach that you ever saw? Saliva, profanity, punches, you name it.
Yeah,
I bet Popovich was bad.
well, everybody has their moments, right? You have your moments. There's some that don't. And Scott Skiles was great. Scott Skiles was great because
he's a bulldog.
Not that he would have he controlled his anger, right? And so because he would get frustrated, right? And he didn't want the guys to see it, and he wanted to, so he knew the cameras were watching him. So out there in those coaches meetings, he's like this the whole time.
Because he's F-bombing people or what?
So you can't see, huh?
Because he's just F-bombing people?
So there are to be, by putting me on the spot, I'm putting somebody else on the spot. I know
That's
how you
what's
guys
so fun.
Scandal. Well, Scotty's not in the league anymore, is he?
Hey, I'll tell you one
guy.
of the funniest lines though I've ever heard.
All right.
Okay, as a player at NC State. Valvano goes on one of those rants, right? V goes on one of those
Jim
rants.
Valvano, for those that
Jim Valvano for NC State, yeah. And and then he pulls the official over and he says, "Hey, can you give me a technical for what I'm thinking?" Guy goes, "No." He goes, "Well, I think you're out."
Tee him up.
I love it.
Hey, by the way, who's good? There's a movie. Game One is Greg's company is making the movie. Mark Charty, the guy that makes all the great sports movies like Secretariat, just did that Kurt Warner movie, Miracle. Mark Charty's doing the movie on Valvano. I think it's called V. And Ray Romano is going to play Jim
that's right.
Valvano.
That's
Oh yeah, I saw.
He could probably pull that off.
I'll share this with you guys. So I'll never forget this. I talk about this all the time. But V asked us 2 questions one day in practice, before practice, and he was a big self-esteem guy, right? And he goes, "If you were a corporation, would you buy stock in yourself? If you're in a room by yourself, do you enjoy the company?" Now
That's deep for an 18-year-old.
no,
I'd short myself.
I've had some. I've looked at the people who laughed at that, and I'm like, okay, I know where
like
your
that.
mind is. Right?
I like that. I used to break my arm if I cheated at solitaire. But anyways, that's just me. Last question for me, and we have to wrap up.
Yep.
And by the way, so much fun being on the show, Phil. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Phil,
so
if you were offered a coaching job, but the coaching job was the WNBA, would you take it?
Great question. Contemplated it. I'll tell you, I'm impressed with the development and how it's going. I have a lot going on right now.
I would say no.
That may not be something that I would do.
I
think
it's
good. I can tell.
No other thing that I have other stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's probably a wise move because like I said, I just met Phil now, but I see the motivation. I can see that you should be on the head coaching or on the bench with some team.
Well, again, I'm just thankful. Great being here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I don't have any serious scandals.
No, that's all right.
No,
and Cato, I know Phil's story. I mean, he's busy in the business world too.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of connections at the high levels, and that's what he's kind of putting his energies in right now.
You're actually going to see one, and it's really, and I'm going to share it right now. It's when you go, if you check the Bizio, and I'm going to share it just because it's a passion of mine. It's an African American enterprise software. So what this is going, and he doesn't look at it. It's African American CEO founder, but he doesn't look at it. Richard Thompson doesn't look at it as a disruptive technology. You'll probably appreciate this. It's a corrective technology because it's going to equalize the playing field for some different people, because the whole big tech power and all that.
Sure, and you're part of it, right? You're involved.
Yeah, well, I'm
love it. Hey, by the way, where do we get your book? Tell everybody how they can order it. Amazon?
You go to CoachPhilWeber.com or Amazon or wherever.
And that's Wnba, Weber.
1B with 1B. Yep. Yeah, Chris, I took one. Chris kept his. He kept both.
It's like my brother Bob. He spells it with 2 O's.
Okay.
Hey, man, that's the K train. You just got to get on board. Go. Enjoy the ride.
Hey, Phil, I don't disappoint, baby. We'll see you in the suite.
Hey, when I come to LA, I'll buy the first round.
Okay, deal.
I love
deal.
that.
We will see you when you come to LA. Get out here.
I always say, my treat, you buy. Love it. Thank you
Phil,
so much,
Phil. Thanks,
Phil.
man. Great seeing you.
All right,
Appreciate it, buddy.
See you, Phil, buddy.
All right,
Loved
take care.
Love that. Now, what city is Phil in?
He's in Long Island, or he's in New York.
Okay.
He grew up in Long Island, lived all over the country, and now he's got a beautiful young daughter. He's married. I went to his wedding. You know who his best friend growing up with was?
No.
Roger Maris Jr.
Oh, wow.
Roger Maris Jr.
And then, speaking of that, Mickey Mantle's baseball card just went.
Oh my God, $12 million.
And
it
Roger
just sold
Maris, I wonder what his is worth.
$12 million. That's By the way, I think the record before that was like 4, and this thing sold for 12.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have told you this, Cato. If we ever have Phil on again, I think we put the 24-second shot clock up for his stories.
I love it already. I love that we give him 24
right?
seconds.
I think we need to put him on a shot clock.
Yeah. And we'll get the gentleman that we couldn't get. I'm sure he'll want to be on the show later.
You know what? When people tell me they're too busy, they don't get a second chance with me. I'm sorry.
Might be listening.
Too bad.
I'm going to try to get you.
You know what?
I'll try to get you.
No one's that busy. Who doesn't want to go on a podcast? And he's got a book. Who doesn't want to promote their book and I just don't give me the "I'm too busy" line. That doesn't work with me. Okay. Anyway.
Plus, we're two pleasant people. And speaking of pleasant people, you guys got to go to YouTube. You got to go subscribe to our show. It's really great. 1 Degree Scandalous. Also Apple, Spotify, everywhere you can get your podcast. We're there.
Everywhere. By the way, casinos, gambling, poker, how we doing? Taking the week off?
I had to tell you a sad story that happened to me.
Okay.
Just a sad story. I don't know if we'll make it, but I was going to surprise you with some stuff here. I was up for a film. And they just went with someone else yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
And I was just like there, and I was going to go and do the podcast on the set. And it's something I really wanted to do. Do you know why? Because I'm addicted to Forensic Files, and it was a serial killer movie. I was going to be the detective in it. And that's it.
Cato, there's a ton of those. Okay.
Yeah.
Just keep doing them. Keep doing the auditions. You're going to get. And you know what?
And we're shooting in Florida, and our friend Patrick Marino. I was going to go.
You would have had some fun.
Everybody.
You would have had a good time.
It was a great, and it was great. Yeah. Everything about it was going to be fantastic. But you know what? I'm over it. I got a little. I think you knew my phone call. I was like, I couldn't talk. I was like, okay.
Well, let me just say this. For people like you who live their life the right way, there's something better on the other side.
I'm hoping.
I know it is, okay? So
love it.
And by the way, I want to see you play a detective. I want to see you play, anything in one of those shows, okay?
Yeah, watch an old show of mine called
The Watcher. The Watcher?
A Watcher. I play a thug. And a pretty good one. It's old. It's Sir Mix-a-Lot. It used to be it was a UPN, but it was the Twilight Zone, the remake, called The Watcher, though. I remember.
Okay, I am going to be binging on The Watcher. Ladies and gentlemen, watch The Watcher. I'm going to do a review on it next week, okay?
You're going to crack up, by the way.
Well,
here's why.
Here's why I'm going to crack up. I can't wait to see you play somebody that's not funny.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
You're very serious. I'm a gangster. And
I can't wait.
The plot is I get killed. I come back like heaven can wait. But I come back as a black man.
Boy, my review. Everybody come back for my review on The Watcher starring Cato. I love it. All right. Hey,
thank you so much.
Cato just said it. Download, subscribe, write us a review, share it. Let's keep these numbers rolling in the right way, and that is up. So thanks for watching, everybody.
I'm headed to L.A. right now. Behind us here, the City of Lights.
Downtown L.A. right behind us. All right. Thanks for watching 1 Degree of Scandalous.
Zach, thank you.
Cato Kalin and Tom Zenner. We'll catch you next week.
Bye-bye.